It's difficult in the moment, but I think for the future, that's going to be really helpful to know.
Are you afraid to be speaking out?
No, not at all. I am not going to be intimidated. And there's no way in the world, if the thought was to go after me so that I wouldn't speak up about the corruption that's happening or speak up to defend these agents and prosecutors, that is a grave miscalculation. There is no way I'm going to be intimidated.
Special counsel Jack Smith has finally surfaced. After months of silence, he is speaking out. And this was not just an interview, it was a warning. His conversation with Nico Wallace mattered not only because he appeared on television, but because of the timing, the message, and the people he seems to be speaking to. As the country moves closer to the midterm elections, Smith appears to be sounding an alarm about something bigger than one case or one investigation. He's warning about a political movement that, in his view, has attacked the justice system, targeted the prosecutors, smear FBI agents, and tried to bend government power around Donald Trump's survival. And his message was aimed straight at Trump's inner circle.
So much of what we know about Donald Trump's efforts to undo his defeat in the 2020 presidential election against Joe Biden and his mishandling of some of the country's most sensitive national security secrets is because of the tireless work of Jack Smith and his team. More than anyone else in the country, he represented a threat to Donald Trump because he followed the facts and they led him deep inside Donald Trump's government and political coalition. The facts revealed crimes, and those crimes were serious enough to represent a very real risk of conviction at trial for Donald Trump. That's the standard to indict somebody. And because of that fact, Donald Trump has called Jack Smith horrible things: a quote thug, a scoundrel, a criminal, and a sick man. And we could actually go on, but we don't want to waste our time that way. Trump has threatened to prosecute him, and Jack Smith has made clear that he was just doing his job. He would do it all over again if given the chance.
Smith made one thing clear. He is not intimidated. He is still here. People like him are still here. And the prosecutors, agents, investigators, and public servants who still believe in the rule of law are not going away just because Trump and his allies try to bully them into silence. That is what Trump world should fear most. If Democrats take back the House, the next 2 years could bring a wave of investigations. Committees led by figures like Jamie Raskin and Robert Garcia could issue subpoenas, hold hearings, and force people inside Trump's orbit to answer hard questions under oath. Do they answer? Do they dodge? Or do they plead the fifth? That is the nightmare Jack Smith's return quietly reminds them of. His appearance seems to say, "You may have damaged the Department of Justice, but you have not destroyed it forever. You may have forced good people out, but you have not erased them. And when this chapter ends, there will still be people ready to rebuild what was broken." That is why the timing matters.
In his letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland, delivering his final report, he writes this, quote, "The claim from Mr. Trump that my decisions as a prosecutor were influenced or directed by the Biden administration or other political actors is, in a word, laughable. While we were not able to bring the cases we charged to trial, I believe the fact that our team stood up for the rule of law matters. I believe the example our team set for others to fight for justice without regard for the personal costs matters. The facts as we uncovered them in our investigation and as we set forth in my report matter." That's where we start the hour. Joining us for his first interview, former special counsel Jack Smith. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
I asked you this when you walked in, and I'll ask you, how weird is it to view it as part of your service to tell the story of the investigations you led?
Yeah, well, I was a career prosecutor. I worked in the Justice Department and other prosecutors' offices for near on 30 years. And
Smith resurfaced as Trump's financial disclosures were back in the spotlight, and many critics still believe what Trump reveals publicly may only be part of the story, with questions remaining about money flowing through family members, businesses, and political networks. So Smith coming forward now does not feel random. It feels deliberate. Then came the key moment. Nico Wallace asked if he was afraid of speaking up.
I don't know if your viewers know this, but I worked in Republican and Democratic administrations over and over. I was the acting U.S. attorney in the first Trump administration in Nashville, Tennessee. And that administration appointed me to a position running a war crimes tribunal for the State Department. So I have investigated cases focusing on the facts and the law throughout my career. We did this case the same way, under the same standards. And, you know, the thing that's, I think, important for your viewers to know is those standards are not meant to change from one administration to the next. And in my experience, until now, they haven't. And so, you know, I think we are facing an attack on the rule of law that is different in kind and scope to anything I've seen in my lifetime. And one of the reasons I wanted to be with you here today, in advance of the 4th of July, celebrating the birth of a country that we all love, is to celebrate the public servants who do this work, the people I spent my career working shoulder to shoulder with. I loved being a prosecutor, and part of it was I loved being around these sort of people. And it angers me to see them victimized, to see them demonized for doing their jobs. I think it's really important that we stand up for them and let them know that there are a lot of people out there who back them and who are with them. And that's not just the people who've been targeted and fired for no reason for doing their jobs. It's also the people still in the Justice Department today. There are a lot of good career prosecutors who right now are working under incredibly difficult circumstances, and they're still trying to do the right thing. And these are not self-promoters. These are not people who are going to go out and, crow about their achievements. We need to hold them up and celebrate them because they're part of what makes this country great.
Smith's answer was calm, but it landed like a hammer. No, he said he would not be intimidated, and if the goal was to go after him so he would stay silent about corruption or stop defending prosecutors and FBI agents, then that was a grave miscalculation. A grave miscalculation. Those words were not casual. They were a message to Trump, to his legal team, to his inner circle, and to everyone inside the system who feels exhausted after years of political attacks. Smith was telling them, do not give up. The rule of law still has defenders, and they are not going away. Grave miscalculation. That was the phrase Jack Smith used, and it was not accidental.
I think one of the things I've seen, which is the sort of journey I've been on, is, with me being targeted by the president, you get to find out who's who, right? You get to find out who runs toward the fire, who kind of backs away. It's difficult in the moment, but I think for the future, that's going to be really helpful to know.
Are you afraid to be speaking out?
No, not at all. I am not going to be intimidated. And there's no way in the world, if the thought was to go after me so that I wouldn't speak up about the corruption that's happening or speak up to defend these agents and prosecutors, that is a grave miscalculation. There is no way I'm going to be intimidated.
It was a message aimed straight at Donald Trump, at Trump's inner circle, and at everyone around him who thought they could intimidate prosecutors into silence. But it was also a message to the people inside the Department of Justice, to the prosecutors who left, to the FBI agents who were smeared, to the public servants who resigned, were pushed out, or are still inside the system watching everything unfold. Jack Smith was telling them, do not give up. He did not shout, he did not perform, he spoke calmly, like a prosecutor. Just facts, just law, just resolve. And that calmness is what makes the warning so powerful. For generations, the Department of Justice was supposed to stand for one thing: justice without fear or favor. Federal prosecutors were trusted by courts because they were expected to follow the facts, respect the law, and protect the integrity of the system. But Trump's movement has spent years attacking that trust.
I don't know the politics of any of these people. That's not something we talk about in the Justice Department.
What does it do to the ability to imagine something on the other side that isn't a reaction to what's happening now? I mean, everyone from all the reporting that we have access to is only doing the kind of work you're talking about if they avoid being asked to do something that violates their oath or is unethical or is part of the retribution cases or is predicated on Trump's conspiracies, as we covered at the top of the hour, a massive deployment of intelligence agents to go look at data in Georgia based on a lie. What happens on the other side to people that were involved in that misdirection of resources?
Well, you know, one thing I don't like is this idea that everybody who did things we don't like, they're guilty of crimes too, and we're going to prosecute them. It should be the facts and the law, and you should look at not let's find this person and let's target them and see if we can find a crime. That's what's happening now. I think it's really important that whoever leads the Justice Department after this rejects that sort of thinking. That doesn't mean that people who have committed crimes should get a free pass. And it's going to be difficult. I actually think the investigation of these things isn't hard. What's hard is getting people to understand it's been done in an objective way. Explaining in a way that people can digest that things are done following the facts and law and don't involve politics. That's a challenge. Doing the actual work, there's lots of people out there who've spent their careers like I have who are capable of doing that work. Not just cases in the political realm, but particularly cases also affecting our national security. I spend a lot of time worrying about that when I see some of the people who've been fired.
When you feel optimistic about our ability to come through and about the caliber of the people who are inside the department, what do you think, and do you feel as optimistic about a country that would re-elect someone for whom the facts showed he'd committed multiple felonies?
My view, Nicole, is our country's been a lot of things at a lot of different times. And what generally happens is when something really bad happens, Watergate, for example, we respond and we get better as a result. I'm not saying the Justice Department has been perfect every day, but the people I worked with, I saw people trying to move things in the right direction. And I think it would be foolish to say we're not facing challenges right now. But when you face a challenge like we are today, you have a choice about the attitude you take towards it. Anyone can put anything on you, but you have a choice about the attitude you take. For me, and I think a lot of the people that I've worked with, our view is I want to behave now in a way that my kids will be proud.
Yeah.
I want to act in a way that when I'm retired, I look back on this time and say, I did things right. I think a lot of people relate to that, and I think it's understandable. And I think if we start aligning actions with our beliefs, it's a huge, huge step. I think
Prosecutors were called corrupt. FBI agents were branded as the deep state. Career public servants were accused of weaponizing the government simply because they investigated facts Trump did not like. That is why Smith's appearance mattered. He was not just defending himself, he was defending the idea that the Justice Department still belongs to the law, not to one man. And his message was clear. If the goal was to scare him into silence, it failed, because facts still matter, evidence still matters, courts still matter. And if Trump tries to bring weak, revenge-driven cases into court, the humiliation may fall on them, not on the people they try to destroy. That is why grave miscalculation should worry them. They thought pressure would make Jack Smith disappear. They thought threats would make him quiet. They thought attacking prosecutors would scare everyone else away. But Jack Smith just proved the opposite. He's still here. People like him are still here. And the rule of law still has defenders who are not going away.